That is something I made. I got a MIDI file for that opening title screen song on Remember 11. I just felt like playing it today. Now, have to hide the text. We'll do window capture. There we go. I wish I could make this window bigger for myself, but it looks fine. People can still read it, so it's good. Anyways, we're going to continue where we left off. Uh-oh, I messed up. So where we left off, actually I can just do this. Where we left off, we learned that Haruka is a clone. And here we go. This is the one that I like. I like this line here. Where is it? It sounded like Haruka was the first clone they'd actually known was a clone. So they just pulled whatever facts they had on hand to create a so-called defense. Though I'm no better. She's the first person I've known was a clone as well. So Saki is. It seems like Saki is upset because Haruka's a clone. There's something about it that bothers her, and I don't understand. We don't understand yet, and it's been forever since I played this game, so I forgot like all of the introductory stuff. Hang on just a sec. But what I do remember is I do very, very well remember that there's just a lot of crazy stuff that comes with the second half of this game after you finish the first week. Let me try something real quick. Let me see. I can turn that down here a little bit. Down to like 60. And then I probably won't have to mess too much with the desktop audio setting. I don't know though. Might turn that down just a little bit. Yeah, right there. And I'll just talk a little bit more while I mute the playlist again. And then I'll unmute myself again. And then I'll unmute myself again. And then yeah, I don't know what causes the microphone to not pick me up, but I know I'm echoing. I know I'm echoing very badly. So let me try that one more time. We'll do original soundtrack. Oh wow. The original soundtrack is like a lot louder. That's great. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. And now I have to unmute myself over here first, so that way I can mute the soundtrack. Yeah, I think it's working. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell most of the time. But from what I've listened to of like the last couple videos, it's been fine. So I'll just go with this. I'll just keep going. I got to Saki's summer house. The chilly late afternoon air pierces my body. After Haruka went inside, I calmed down the sobbing Kurumi and tried going into Haruka's room. I called out to her many times, but she didn't leave her room. Did I say something wrong? I then became curious about Saki, who had suddenly exploded in anger. In the first place, how did she know that Haruka was a clone? I intend to get that answer out of her. Just as I'm about to try opening the door, Yuka comes out from inside. Yuka, how's Saki doing? Until she calms down, I don't think I'll be able to... Until she calms down, I don't think it'll be any good. It was like this in my past, too. In the past? You mean when you and Saki used to draw together? Huh? I guess that's true. Anyway, how's Haruka? She still hasn't left her room. I see. I can't talk to Saki as she is now. We head back towards the lodge. Hey Yuka, is there really that much of a difference between clones and humans? Hang on, I'm trying to pull something up. I want to have the, There we go. I found it. All right, I have this. This flowchart is very dense. Let me show you what I'm looking at. So what I'm debating on is like which ending I want to go for, and I forget how to do it. Let's see. There's a lot. I'm just like, how? How do I want to do this? Who should I go for first? Who should I go for second? I guess I'm already set for the Haruka route. Then I'll just have to like make these choices again later. So I've been looking for that. I knew it existed, but it's just so old that search engines are like, Never7, what's that? Oh, you mean like your muscles? What does it do when I just look up Never7 again? Um Never7 flow chart. Oh, that's funny. Because I already looked it up. It I have a flow chart for Rickrolling, and then there's a 7-stage pie chart. Then there's one for Neo. Then there's just a bunch of other flow charts, but there's never the one that I'm looking for. I have a problem solving one. But yeah, it's just very funny to me. It's like I can't find this until like I specifically type in the full name of the game. So I'll have to remember to cut this section out of the VOD, honestly. And that'll be easy enough to do, I think. If I went to YouTube right now, I could probably look at the last VOD. Go to content. The 3-hour-long VOD. And I have an editor where I can easily just cut out parts of it. So yeah, that'll work. Let's do that later. Oh yeah. This is the classic post. I saw a job post the other day. It required 4+ years of experience in Fast API. I couldn't apply as I only have 1.5 years of experience since I created that thing. I have a new follower. From neckbeard.xyz. That reminds me. I'm still trying to get into the shitposter.club. Oh well. I should message Moon about it. It's really funny. The thing I didn't think of when I made this username is that Null is the Kiwi Farms guy. And if this username sticks around, people are gonna call me Null. So I'm like, oh no. Is that okay? I've debated it. But because I'm very aware of Josh and his content, because people have told me over and over again, you sound like Josh from Mad at the Internet. I think he just goes by his first name now anymore. So that's all good. We're gonna turn the playlist back on. Let's see. The only difference I see is how they're born. If they're a copy of someone else's genetic information, then they're like a twin, right? But Haruka says that because she's a copy, she has no heart. I've never heard of normal clones ever saying that. There's no way it's possible to not have a heart. I agree. There's absolutely no way she doesn't have a heart. Kind of feels like a delusion. A delusion. Like, what if Haruka's convinced that she's some kind of special being? A special being? Yeah, I have a hunch that she's held on to that delusion. When we return to the lodge, we see Izumi-san jogging up towards us. In her hand, she's carrying a bag full of some ingredients. What about the shop? I closed it early. It's not like any customers would come anyways. Sorry for troubling with Kurumi, especially you, Makoto. No. Sorry, excuse me. I'm in no mood to talk to the unusually cheerful Izumi-san right now. Lightly bowing my head, I head back to my room. Izumi-san might think badly of me, but... Something wrong? I hear her asking Yuka this from behind my back. I return to my room and think of Haruka. Yuka's words are bothering me. Haruka's under the impression that she's a special being. That's ridiculous. At that time, I hear someone knock on the door. When I let out a flat, it's open. Izumi-san opens the door.
ちょっといい?
Can I come in? Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
ゆうかちゃんから話聞いたんだけど、はるかちゃんのこと。
I heard about Haruka from Yuki-chan. Yuka-chan. I keep messing that up. Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. We are just a little shocked to hear the truth about Haruka. No, I think that Haruka is Haruka.
誠くんは人間もクローンも違わない?
Do you want to think that there is no difference between humans and clones? Do you think there's a difference?
そうじゃないけど、
No, but there was a time when people clearly thought differently. No, but...
誠くん、今みたいにクローン受精が自由になったきっかけって知ってる?
Makoto, do you know what the trigger was that made clone fertilization legal? I do not.
クローン取締法があった頃ね。
Even though the clone control law is still in effect,
自分の息子の
a scientist made a clone of his son who died in an accident. He just wanted to see his son again, no matter the cost.
けどその
But
秘密が
when a secret leaked out, he was put on trial. He was sentenced to life imprisonment.
懲役が決まっ
That much was considered to be an extremely serious
極
crime.
めて
No way.
ところが
However,
このクローン
when the contents of the clone boy's testimony was reported, there was a complete turnover in public opinion,
最初
which grew powerful enough to lead to the amendment of the law.
力になったの。
What? What did the clone boy say?
パパは何も悪いことな
Papa didn't do anything wrong. I'm grateful to Papa because Papa is the one who gave me this life. That was 9 years ago, Zumi-san. You remember this quite well.
私の父親
My father is currently the authority on genetic engineering. I'm just repeating what he told me.
ただ
Morino. No way. Izumi-san's father is Dr. Shigezo Morino. If I'm not mistaken, several decades ago, Dr. Morino participated in the Human Genome Project, and he was the one who discovered the groundbreaking analysis for the DNA sequence, right? I guess it's a small world after all. Wait, I have no time to think about that. I need to get back on topic. But aren't we past that era anyways? It's all in the past, isn't it? They've been freed. Human or clone, there's nothing we need to worry about anymore.
それ
That
違うかもしれない。
might not be quite right.
私の友達にもクローン
My friend was also a clone.
夢み
Her name was Yumemi-chan,
夢ちゃんって呼んでたんだけど、
but I called her
そ
Yume-chan.
の子がある日
When she confessed the truth to me, she was quite solemn. It makes sense.
だから私
That's why I told Yumi-chan not to worry about it.
夢ちゃん
That Yumi-chan was Yumi-chan, and that's really what I thought.
そう思って
When I did that, her face grew a little sad.
多分だけど
Why?
夢ちゃん
Now that I think about it, it's probably because Yumi-chan felt like she had lost herself somehow.
じゃないかな。
I don't get it.
だって本人
Because she'd given up.
だわけでしょ。
The law said it was alright, but people's feelings don't change that simply. Then, would it have been better to give her special treatment?
そういうわけじゃない。
I don't think it was like that, but maybe I should have done so. Even if you ask me.
そうね。けど
Right.
夢ちゃんとしてはクローンだってこと。
But to Yumi-chan, as a clone,
方がショックだったんじゃない。
being told that it didn't matter might have been an even bigger shock. I'm at a loss for words. Once again, Haruka appears in my mind. So back then, did Haruka lie when she said she was happy? When I enter the living room, everyone is already gathered. I sit down on the sofa as everyone passes the time idly. There's a melancholic atmosphere as the events from earlier are still lingering in our minds. Izumi-san, Okihiko, and even Kurumi are dead silent. And Haruka's there too. As for Yuka right now, she's standing by the window fiddling with something. It isn't like her to look so lonely. Yuka, what's that? This? Kurumi-chan and I went to the gift shop after our tennis match, and I brought this here. She holds up the trinket with her fingertips to show me. It's a keychain. Attached to it is some kind of fat cat mascot. A character that's about as big as my palm. Is that a souvenir for someone? It's for me. What do you think of Ninnin Nekopyon? Its name. That's the name I gave it. You can't have it. Why would I want something like that? Fine. For a moment there, you look kind of jealous. Jealous? Where'd you get that idea from? I've got no clue. We stopped talking after that. Somehow things seem to be even quieter than they were before. No one tries to start a conversation. Well, I guess it's time I made dinner. As if tempting to break the ice, Izumi-san cheerfully declares this as she heads towards the kitchen. Izumi-san, I'll help you out. I think I should follow her example. If you want to help, just set the table. No way, it'll be fine. At least, help me with peeling the potatoes. Let me help with peeling the potatoes. Potatoes? In that instant, everyone looks towards me. In that instant, I'm reading poorly today. Their glares pierce me like daggers. The overwhelming sudden pressure feels like it's suffocating me. Not again. Not another premonition. But in contrast to my thoughts, for some reason, those words begin to float in my mind. Because we're having meat potato stew today, right? I blurted those words in my head without thinking. I have no idea why I just said that. Felt as if I was being manipulated by some unknown force. It's true that I planned on making meat potato stew, but... Oni-chan, how did you know we're having meat potato stew? What kind of joke is this, Ishihara? Stop it. He narrows his eyes and glares at me. This is bad. If this keeps up, the tension in this place is going to become worse. I've got to trick them somehow. No, you see, I saw them. Earlier, I saw the ingredients that Izumi-san had brought. Potatoes, carrots, onions, and beef. Mirin, sugar, and then soy sauce, and cooking sake. I see. Well, then it would be obvious that she's making meat potato stew. Stew! Sheesh. For now, it seems everyone believes me. I wipe the cold sweat off my forehead. Just then, we're having meat potato stew for dinner? Haruka suddenly mutters this. That's right. Tonight's dinner is meat potato stew. Since I rarely cook any Japanese dishes at the cafe, I thought it'd be a nice change of pace, right? Meat potato stew, huh? Everyone utters the words meat potato stew. Judging by their unenthusiasm, seems like none of them like it very much. Now that I think about it, there's something I need to do. Not that it's urgent, but Would you excuse me? I'll be back soon. With that, Okuhiko leaves the lodge. Well, I really don't care. I don't know where he's going or what he's doing. But just then, Kurumi speaks up. Oh, that's right. One-chan, please don't put any onions in. But I just bought a lot of onions. No, I hate onions. Hey, don't be selfish. But I don't mind if there's no onions. Me neither. Are you fine with the Mikoto? Yeah, it's no problem at all. As long as Yuka's not cooking, it doesn't really matter. Really? Then I guess I'll just leave the onions out. Kurumi, go ahead and thank everyone. Kurumi comically says this. Come on. Jeez. A grumbling Izumi-san disappears into the kitchen. Izumi-san. Like I was saying earlier, let me help you. I follow her into the kitchen. I'm happy you want to help, but really I'm fine. Boys shouldn't go in the kitchen. Understand? That smile of her kills me every time. I'm defenseless against it. So okay. I obediently reply like a child and return to the living room. It felt like I heard a faint sigh from the kitchen behind me. Just as instructed, I began to set the table. Yuka and Haruka are reclining on a sofa nearby watching TV. Kurumi is lying down flat on the floor fiddling with notepaper for some reason. I think she's trying to use it for origami. I could use some help here, you guys. I mentally complain as I continue to work. After dinner, we all thank Izumi-san again for cooking. Of course, her cooking was as good as always. What happened between Haruka and Saki is still bothering me. I think everyone feels the same way. Now that the meal's ended, we're stuck once again in an unpleasant silence. Kurumi just got an idea. What is it? There's an old graveyard close by. How about having a test of courage there? As I thought, Kurumi, too, couldn't stand the awkward atmosphere. This is probably her way of taking us into consideration. Are you listening, Oni-chan? Doesn't it sound like fun? Huh? Sure. I don't mind. Hold on. Huh? Don't tell me you're scared, Yuka-san. I'm not scared. Then it's settled. In the end, it's decided that we'll go with Kurumi's plan and have a test of courage. The road to the graveyard appears to be west from here. Well, I say road, but I doubt you could even call it that. Up until Kurumi told us of its existence, I thought it was just part of the thicket. Is there really something like a graveyard at the other end of that thing? If it really does exist, then I'm almost certain it's a dangerous place. Everyone seemed so enthusiastic and excited about it up till now. But that's all been replaced with anxiety. Well, now that we're here, Kurumi will explain the rules. For some reason, she seems impatient. Feels like she wants to just hurry up and begin. I'll be right back. I'm back. Uh-oh, my hotkey isn't working anymore. According to the Japanese Test of Courage Awareness Club official rulebook, first edition, a test of courage is a trial held in a scary place to test one's courage. This time around, the scary place has been decided to be an old well in the graveyard. An old well in the graveyard. The judge, who will see whether or not you make it there, an official referee, appointed by the Japanese Test of Courage Awareness Club, is none other than me, Kurumi. Hey, then you're not participating? That's not true. From the start, she will be judging the results of the match. That's unfair, isn't it? But Kurumi always goes. It's not scary at all for her. Well, that's true. Besides, it'd be more scary for one of you guys to be waiting over there by yourself, you know? That's true. Well then, we'll leave it to you, Kurumi-chan. Alright. Do you have to be so self-centered? Well then, let's go! Only Kurumi seems to be enthusiastic as she leads the group into the forest. Everyone tails closely behind her as if they're begging not to be left behind. Just as I'm about to step in the thicket. Makoto. I turn around when I see someone behind me. Yuka, huh? I thought you were ahead of me. Lost your nerve? No, that's not it. Well then, what is it? What? Are we really doing this test of courage? Yeah, we are. And in a test of courage, people usually get into pairs, right? Well, that's how it's usually done. But you know what? I was thinking a bit. There's 6 of us, aren't there? And since Kurumi will be the judge, then it essentially means there's 5 of us, right? 5 people is an odd number, isn't it? Stop stalling and get to the point. So, when it's time for rock, paper, scissors, I'll use rock. I thought if you used rock at the same time, it could be nice. So let me see if I'm thinking what you're thinking. We'll use rock, paper, scissors to divide in pairs of 2, 2, and 1. You won't be all alone if I play rock. It's not maybe right. It is right, isn't it? Although she hesitates to say this, she gives me a quiet nod. See, you really are scared, aren't you? There's no way in hell that I'm scared. Her tone says otherwise. Okay, I get it. Well, I'll think about it.
考えとくって。
Are you going or not? Who knows? If it sounds fun, maybe I'll give it a try. Departing with those words, I once again step into the thicket.
ちょっと待ってよ。
Yuka jogs after me. Everyone else has gone so far ahead that we can no longer see them. The graveyard is dimly lit by the pale moon. Half of the moss-covered tombstones are either half fallen or completely fallen over to the ground. The air is cool and damp in spite of the relatively warm weather we've had over the past few days.
あのね、ここに眠ってるのは全部無縁仏なんだって。
Did you know? Everyone buried here is a Muan Batoke. Someone who died without friends or family to bury them.
無縁仏。
Muan Batoke.
例えば、
Right.
たまにある
For example,
不明の水死体と
unidentified ground corpses that wash up on the beach.
作った身を
Old timers with no relatives who hang themselves in the forest.
生きながらにして
Innocent
の底に
criminals thrown into the bottom of deep holes while still alive.
ね。
Let's see. What else? Thanks, Kirby-chan. That's enough. The instant we hear unidentified drowned corpses, we all instinctively take a half step backwards.
早くやろう、肝試し。
Well, then, let's get this show on the road. None of us answer Kurumi, who seems indifferent to our plight. Everyone exchanges worried glances with each other. Is it too late to turn back now? It's a question we all seem to be asking ourselves.
もうみんな怖い。
Jeez, everyone's so scared. It's alright.
万が一取りつかれた
Even if by chance you happen to get possessed by a ghost,
と返して。
Kurumi will refer you to a famous spirit medium. Her reassurance only scares us further. Clearly her intent.
それじゃあ早速
Alright, let's get to dividing in pairs through rock, paper, scissors, okay?
同じ手を出した人が2人い
If two people have the same hand, those two will become a pair.
て3人と
But
か
if there are 3 or 4 or 5 people with the same hand,
たら
they have to go through with another round. Got it? Alright, what does my chart say about... I should go paper. This is no longer a situation we can back out of anymore. It can't be helped then. Let's go. At that instant, Yuka and I make eye contact.
せーのじゃんけん。
Paper. Everyone releases their hands simultaneously. True to her word, Yuka releases a tight fist rock. When I release paper, she mouths a silent, "What the hell?" I immediately avoid her cold glare while checking the other's hands. Sumi-san has rock. Okuhiko also has rock. Haruka has paper.
じゃあ今度は優香さんと奥くんとお姉ちゃんでスーパーだよ。
This time around, you two can only use rock or paper.
どうしてだい？僕らは3人1組で。
Can't we just form a group of 3?
ブーブーダメだぴょーん。
Wrongamundo!
日本肝試し振興会発行の本年度版
This year's edition
によると肝試し中は
says that during a test of courage, there may only be groups of 1 or 2. That's how it is.
そんなものを。
You gotta be kidding me.
せーのじゃんけん。
Rock, paper, scissors.
ほい。何つられて出してるんだよ僕は。
Why did I pick that one? When I quickly peep into the ring of 3 hands, I see that Okuhiko picked rock while the other 2 picked paper.
というわけでペアも決まったことだし
In conclusion, we have our pairs.
ついて
Kurumi will now explain the rest of the rules. Okuhiko dejectedly sits down on a nearby tombstone. Yuka seems to be relieved, as if saying, "I'm so glad I'm not alone." She takes a deep breath and sighs. Kurumi lays out the rules. There's an old well somewhere in this graveyard. 2 of you will team up and look for it. If you find it, sign your names on the wall of the well with the pebble as proof. If you can't do that, you can return to the start point. It was decided that we play rock, paper, scissors to pick a representative to choose which pair goes first. They would also decide when the next pair will leave in the next 10 minutes. Incidentally, I won the match. When I heard that I could pick whichever order I liked, I immediately picked to go first, since I wanted to get this over with. Though, I guess now that I think of it, it doesn't really matter if I go first or last. The stone pavement is pleasantly cool. A breeze stirs in the trees nearby, making me somehow uneasy. Kurumi said that almost everyone buried in this group of moss-covered tombstones are Moonbatake. I absolutely don't believe in ghosts or monsters, but being here is making me feel strangely insecure. Haruka, who's walking beside me, with her completely usual stony face, is completely unfazed by this atmosphere. Doesn't she have an imagination? Kurumi sure knows this place well, now that I think about it. Did she say earlier that everyone buried here is a Moonbatake? The silence is killing me. Sheesh, we shouldn't have done this test of courage.
無縁仏って
Moonbatake. You don't know. When someone dies and they have no family or relatives to bury them, they become Moonbatake. See, you write the words with the characters nothing, relationship, and deceased. A dead person with no relationships.
縁がない
No relationships. It sounds pretty lonely. Dying without having a person who cares about you.
私が死んでも多分誰も何も感じ
When I die, it's likely that nobody will care about me either. What are you saying?
私は誰かの
Because I'm just someone's replacement.
コピーに過ぎないから
Haruka, I won't forgive her for talking about you that way. I mean Saki. What gives her the idea that she can just look down on you like that? It's not right.
本当にそう思う
Do you really think that? Yeah, it pisses me off when I think about the incident at the ocean yesterday as well as what happened today. But how did she know that you're a clone in the first place? Did something happen between you and Saki? Was it the day before yesterday? Not the first time... Oh. Was the day before yesterday not the first time you had met? Haruka begins to step away from me. She moves to a stone paving by a large, conspicuous tombstone. Her face says, "I don't want to talk about Saki." Ignoring this, I step towards her. I'm partly surprised that I can read emotions off of Haruka's face. It wasn't, was it? A sudden gust of wind passes by me, making the trees sound like they're in an uproar. Crash! I slip on the stone paving and catch my breath as I look at Haruka. Her eyes are shining with curiosity. She squats down and begins to crawl. Stop acting so creepy. Come on, get up. She pays no heed to my word, and I hear the sound of scraping against the stone pavement. It's completely dark and I can't see a thing. This is what they call true darkness. I immediately spring to my feet. I would try to run away, but Haruka grabs one of my ankles before I can do so.
あの人は
She stole from me. Stole? Haruka clings to my leg as she says
あの
this.
日だけじゃなく
It wasn't just that day. She stole from me again. What did she steal from you?
私
My... And at that time... Haruka and I turn around upon hearing this blood-curdling stream from behind us. As the crying gets louder, we see a black shadow running towards us at great speed. It's Yuka. What's wrong, Yuka? Calm down. I grasp her shoulders and calm her down. Head. Head. Soon enough. She's still going off without a word, Yuka-chan. Izumi, who is paired with her, comes up to us out of breath.
あれは犬
It was a dog. It was a puppy sticking its head out of the bushes. Puppy? You'd think there'd be a puppy in this graveyard. Wait a minute. Is that what scared Yuka? In the middle of the quiet, still forest, the only sound we hear are our own footsteps. We're walking back to the lodge with Izumi-san in the lead.
かり汗かいちゃったね
I'm sweaty. She frowns as she pinches her clothes, which are stuck to her body.
まったくだ
I can say that again. He nods sympathetically. His face seems a little pale. Is it the pale moonlight? Or is it the fear he was feeling a little while ago? It doesn't really matter. Haruka alone says nothing. She walks behind the completely silent Izumi-san with a composed expression. Let's take showers when we get back. I suggest this to my fellow seminar camp members. They nod in agreement.
くるみもくるみも
Kurumi too! Kurumi too! Kurumi, who's walking next to Haruka, is in high spirits after hearing us.
あそうそう近くに露天風呂の温泉が
There's actually an open-air hot spring nearby. As if she had been anticipating it, Izumi-san abruptly turns to inform us about this. Since she's the head of the group, Haruka and Kurumi, who are walking right behind her, both crash into her chest.
もう姉ちゃん突然立ち止まんないでよ
Don't stop so sudden. Her face. There we go. I'm gonna post that somewhere. There we go. Naturally, Kurumi reprimands Izumi-san. Haruka shoots her a flustered look as she nurses her nose. She hastily apologizes, though her mind is clearly still on the hot springs. She looks at us with that face that says, "Do you want to go?"
本当ねえね
Let's go there. Yuka gets really excited. Okihiko nods as if to say it sounds good. Haruka doesn't respond, but it doesn't seem like she has any particular objections. However, Kurumi suddenly hangs her head downward. All the enthusiasm she had mere moments ago is suddenly gone.
くるみも
Are you also okay? She asks the question as if to make sure Kurumi was ready for a solemn ritual to begin. Izumi looks at her uneasily. After a short while, Kurumi nods, giving a sweet smile. When she sees that, Izumi-san's expression relaxes, and she nods back.
ちなみに
Incidentally,
そこ婚約
the hot springs are mixed bathing. What? Oyuhiko's face seems to light up upon hearing this. He takes a fleeting sidelong glance at Haruka, so it seems. It could just be my imagination. That's, a bit dangerous, wouldn't you say? Looking at Okihiko, I feel kind of reluctant. It'd be like throwing sheep in front of the wolf.
年頃の男女が婚欲
Well, it might be, considering we have you two around.
男女交代で入れば問題ないって
If we alternate, there'll be no problem at all. However, she declares this, not seeming to have fussed over the matter. Okihiko clicks his tongue. Seems my fears weren't part of my imagination after all. However, in the corners of my mind, I think that I'm relieved. I'm also kind of would have liked to have gone together. I guess I'm a normal guy after all.
ダメダメそんなんじゃお兄ちゃんと奥に覗かれないって保証ないもん
There's no guarantee that they won't try to peek. Kurumi seems to think that we definitely will. She has no faith in us.
そういえばあそこの温泉って一応柵でくくってあるけどもうボロボロなのよね
There's a wall around the hot spring that's completely tattered.
それじゃあ水着つけて入るってのは
What if we went in our swimsuits?
帰って水着を下に着込ん
We can go back to get our swimsuits. Once we've changed, we can come back.
おお、それはナイスアイデア。
That's a nice idea, Yuka-chan.
実はそう
I already brought my swimsuit. Zumi-san gives an impish smile. Kurumi is sticking her tongue out. Was this her plan from the beginning? Seems that they're having fun watching our reactions. They're terrible.
なんだったら私たちが入ってる間誠と奥彦くん
Well, we won't have to tie them up to a tree. Yuka throws out a ridiculous suggestion. Cut me a break.
ちょっとはし
Have some faith in us, Yuka-chan. Okihiko looks like he's about to cry. I probably look the same.
まあそれは冗談だとして
It was just a joke, I swear.
そういうことで決定
Well, then it's decided.
各自ロッジで水着を着込んで20分後にロッジ
We'll meet in 20 minutes at the front door. She continues this conversation as if we're not even there. Something's weird about this exchange. Yuka, I was thinking. Times like this, isn't it usually the girl who's reluctant to go into the hot springs while the guys are the persuasive ones?
まあまあそんなこと気にしない気にし
Don't worry about it. With that, we once again head towards the lodge. She walks slightly, humming a song to herself. Once we enter the lodge, we each head to our own rooms to change. Incidentally, Izumi-san and Kurumi are using Yuka and Haruka's rooms. When I'm about to enter my room, Haruka stares firmly at Kurumi and says this.
肌きれい
You have pretty skin.
どうか
Something wrong, Kurumi-chan?
なんでもない
Thank you, Haruka.
でも本当にそうだ
It's true.
くるみちゃん背中洗いっこしよっか
We washed my bed. Kurumi's face suddenly freezes. I hear Izumi-san give a gasp. Sorry.
くるみお江戸でがってみなくちゃ
Now that I think about it, I've got to watch Odeo Gatan. Her eyes widen. This is unexpected and left me utterly confused. What's wrong, Kuru?
本当にご
I'm sorry, I have to see it no matter what. Right. If I don't watch it, I won't be able to talk about it with my friends. She interrupts me, giving a desperate apology.
そっかそれじゃあ
Can't be helped, Kurumi. With a sad face, Izumi-san places a hand on her shoulder.
お姉ちゃん
I'm sorry, Oni-chan. It seems like she could burst into tears at any time. Izumi-san silently shakes her head.
じゃあ私たち
Well,
は温泉行
We're going to the hot spring. Please watch over the lodge. Then I think Kurumi's also a TV addict. That thought runs to my head. After changing clothes, we meet at the...
それじゃあくるみちゃん行ってきます。
We're off, Kurumi-chan. Kurumi watches us leave as we start walking towards the hot springs. At first, Izumi-san isn't that enthused. But she gradually grows more cheerful, so I stop worrying about her. Soon enough, we're able to see something like steam rising from our destination. I can smell the scent of sulfur mixed in the air.
なんだか臭い。
Kinda stinks.
誠、女の子の前で。
Farting in front of a girl, Makoto. You're the worst. It's the hot springs, dumbass. I pinch my nose and reproach Yuka.
そもそもここを最初に見つけたのは。
The one who first found this place was...
うちのパパも温泉を所有していて。
My dad owns a hot spring. Izumi-san is talking about the hot spring and Okihiko is butting in. We ignore him as we advance towards the spring through the forest. The spring isn't very far. We arrive, and it's isolated. Natural. It's an isolated, natural hot spring, surrounded by rocks, lying in the middle of the forest. In this chilly night, the enveloping steam is coming from the milky white hot water. It seems very promising.
なんだかお猿さんでも入っていそう。
It looks like a kind of bath where you'd find a bathhouse prostitute.
お猿。
Prostitute?
知らないの、はるか。
You don't know what those are, Haruka? Well, let's see. Don't tell her. What? Ignoring the sulky Yuka, I turn my attention to Izumi, who's beginning to explain the hot springs. It seems no one knows the manager and the owner of this. Uh-oh, I have a link. A wall had been built around the hot spring, but it's rotted away to the point where it's riddled with gaps. You really could peek in here as much as you liked.
ここの温泉って何に効くんですか？
Is this spring even safe?
え？
Who knows?
知らないん
You
ですか？
don't know if it's safe.
うん。でも
It's alright.
大丈夫。
I at least know it's not poisonous to the body.
うーん。
Get a little worried when I start to consider how much of a ditz Izumi-san can be. Probably won't die though.
それじゃあ行っちまー
I'll go first. Suddenly, she takes off her clothes. I knew she was going to do it, but it's still shocking.
どうしたの？
It's nothing. Whatever. You could delicately dips her foot into the hot springs like most girls would, before suddenly diving with the splash.
いいおい。
It's really good. She's such a child. Soon enough, everyone changes into their bathing suits and enters the hot spring. I guess I should enter as well. It's been 10 minutes since I've entered. I feel more and more like I'm boiling up. I am completely relaxed. Then I'll... sit on the edge of a rock. The gentle night's breeze feels pleasant and cool against my burning hot skin. Only the top half of my body is exposed to the wind as my lower half is still submerged. Is this the true charm of open-air hot springs? This seriously feels good. I wonder how many years it's been since I since going to a bath has made me feel so good. I'm trying to fix my mic. Now that I think about it. People are talking about the song I posted. I'll pull it up. It's a very simple song. I made it the other day and then I finished it. There we go. There we go. Just a nice little cut in there. Now that I think about it, I've done a lot of different things at this camp. We've all done a lot of different things at this camp. And it's all felt very peaceful. At that time, I hear Okuhiko's voice. He's talking to someone. I turn my head in his direction. There he is. Soon I also see Haruka. The two of them have their shoulders submerged in the hot water. He is relentlessly trying to talk to her. Well, as always, she's staying silent, but she looks gloomy. I don't know why, but that's the feeling I get. If that's the case, then I've got an excellent plan to help her out. Time to put my ingenious plot into action. I roll up a towel that's full of air and sink it into the water until it's level with my lower back. Now I'm ready. Weapon in hand, I approach them. Splash, splash. Two of them watch me. He glares at me, disgusted by my behavior. I try to ignore him, but I can't help but groan. With that, I squeeze the air out of the submerged towel, forming bubbles that rise just above the back of my waist, making it look like it came from another place. What? Paralyzed, his eyes widen to the size of plates. His mouth opens wider than I ever thought possible. Okuhiko's mouth is huge. It's so big, I thought you could stuff an entire water basin in there. In response to Haruka's statement, I compare my wash basin with Okuhiko's face and nod. This face is also being posted. While plucking his nose, Okihiko screams and runs away. Haruka blinks as surprise watching Okihiko. That was extremely predictable joke, but
ねえ、奥彦どうしたの？
what's wrong with Okihiko? Who knows? Our silence continues for a short while. Say, Haruka. Unable to bear the silence any longer, I try to strike up a conversation. She doesn't respond. Haruka. Haruka. When I wasn't paying attention, her face turned bright red. If she's gotten this bad, then she shouldn't have stayed in for so long. Right now, my main priority is to get her out of the water. I pull up the sinking Haruka and hold her head in my arms. I feel lightheaded and dizzy from the sensation of her soft skin transmitting through my hands. But somehow I manage to carry her until I find a place with a good breeze. I look at her face as I place her against the wall where her clothes are. It's quiet, but she starts breathing in and out. I continue to watch her. And then, by chance, Yuka passes by. Yuka, good timing. Help me out. Haruka just... I talk up to that point and then swallow my words. Her face is flushed red like a lobster. Her eyes are unfocused. Her gait is all staggered with no sense of balance. And she has sake in her hand. Ugh, she's drunk. What's wrong, Kodo? There's something up with Haruka. As she is now, she can't help me at all. I ignored the plastered Yuka and immediately returned my focus to panting Haruka's face. After our night out, we returned to the lodge a little after 11. It had been a refreshing, though exhausting experience. I fall into a deep sleep the moment I climb into bed.
お兄ちゃんってば。もう早く起きないと。
If you don't wake up soon, you're going to be late. Late? Once I realized the meaning of those words, I frantically jumped to my feet. Harumi. Hey, what the hell would I have been late for?
だって一回こういうのやってみたかったんだもん。
This is just something I wanted to try once.
よくゲームとかであるじゃない？
Don't you see this event in a lot of games? What kind of games are you playing? I walk into the dining room and see Yuka and Haruka eating breakfast. Who made the sandwiches?
あ、誠、ちょっと挨拶ぐらいしなさいよね。
Kodo, can't you at least say good morning first? Alright. Good morning!
おはよう。おはよう。
So who made the
く
sandwiches?
るみちゃんがね。
Kurumi.
そう、くるみが持ってきたの。
I brought them over. Then she made breakfast for us again?
そういうこと。
That's right. Izumi-san is such a gracious person. I say this and grab a ham and cheese mozzarella sandwich. With one hand, taking a bite. Damn, that's good.
もう行儀悪いな。ちゃんと座って食べてよね。
You have poor manners. Sit down and eat properly. She complains about every little thing. That was delicious. I'm done. There's a big plate on the table with a few parsley leaves scattered all over it. Now that I think about it, I don't see Okihiko anywhere. Where did he go?
くるみちゃんが来る前に散歩してくるって言って出てったっきり。
Said he was taking a walk. I see. Hey Yuka, what's on today's schedule?
ああ、今日はね、ちょうど中
Since it's the middle of the seminar, we are free to do whatever we want. So, we've basically been doing things like that every day, haven't we?
まあそりゃそうなんだけどね。
That's true.
今日はいつも
But
よ
we're even freer today than usual.
みんなそれぞれ行きたい場所。
Everyone can go wherever they want.
たまには個人
After all, going off by yourself and doing what you want isn't bad every now and then. see.
あと言い忘れてたけど、今日の自由行動は
This only lasts until 5 p.m. today.
そう、5時ま
After
でに
5 p.m., everyone has to be at Luna
ビー
Beach. What's going on at 5?
ない
It's a secret. Seriously. What is it?
まあまあ、その
Now,
なってからのお
just look
楽し
forward to it
どうで
and find out for yourself. Well, whatever. So what are you planning on doing, Yuka?
私はお花見にでも行こうかなって思ってるんだけど、桜
Cherry blossoms. They have those. To Viewpoint Park.
この辺りでは今がちょうど
I've
見
heard
頃
this is
だ
the
って
best
言
time
う
to
し
see them.
それ
I
に
probably won't
入
get
っ
a
たら
chance to
花
see
見
them
に
when I
行
go
く機会
home.
なんてなさそうだから。
So, oh, cherry blossoms, huh? Watching cherry blossoms falling, that might be a beautiful sight. What about you, Haruka? What are you going to?
とね、くるみはね、姫ヶ浜に
Kurumi is going to Princess Beach
姫ヶ浜に行って
to catch crabs. Catching crabs, are we? Well, I've heard her out. So, Haruka, what are you planning on doing?
くるみはね、カニを2匹捕まえたら
I'm going to catch 2 crabs
カニを2匹捕まえた
I'm
ら
going to catch 2 crabs
でカニ相撲
and make them sumo on the beach. Making the crabs sumo, are we? What the hell is crab sumo? I guess it's self-explanatory, but... Alright, Haruka, where are you
くる
going?
みはね、カニ相撲の行事になってね。カニ相撲の行事にな
I'll be the referee for the crab sumo, and I'll pet the winner. Really? I'm kind of jealous of that crab. It's about time I got strict. By the way, what are you doing, Haruka?
ね。私は釣り
I'm going fishing. Fishing, huh? One way or another, it seems that Haruka had a lot of fun yesterday. Where do I go? I decided to go fishing with Haruka. Say, Haruka, would it be okay if I went fishing with you? She nods a yes and seems to be a little embarrassed as a faint smile forms on her face. Well, then I'll go get ready. Wait for me. I returned to my room after telling her this. When I've finished changing in my room, I hurry back to the living room. For some reason, Haruka isn't there. Just then I hear an argument going outside the front door. One of them is Saki, the other is Haruka. I have a very bad feeling for this, so I quickly open the front door. As her back is turned to me, I can't see Haruka's face. But Saki's has a strange frown on it. I rush over them. From the incident from 2 days ago is rushing through my head. What are you two talking about? When she hears my voice, Saki turns her back away as if intending to run away. Saki! Without turning around, she starts to run towards the summer house. Feeling it's not worth the chase, I turn around to Haruka. What I see leaves me dumbfounded. She's smiling. Haruka, what happened?
遅かったね、誠。さ、
You're late, Makoto. Come on, let's go. When I turn towards her smiling face, Haruka lightly walks out onto the forest road. Let's hurry. Yeah, I'm coming. As I follow Haruka I fall deep into thought. So something did happen between them. But she doesn't want to bring it up. That means Haruka's. When we arrive at the pier, I set up the fishing gear just like yesterday. However, I only do so half-heartedly since my mind's pressed on other matters. Such as what happened this morning. Just what happened between Haruka and Saki anyways. Haruka, who doesn't know about my speculating, is having a lot of fun. While I'm spacing out, she starts setting up her own fishing gear. I know very well that she's excited. Seems yesterday's session got her completely hooked on fishing. She grips her fishing rod and after she finishes setting up, she casts it out into the ocean just like me. She's a fast learner, as expected from an honor student like her. I force myself to think about trivial things like that. Even so, I can't stop thinking about Haruka and Saki. Alright, let's go. Say, Haruka. I want to tell you what happened. I want you to tell me what really happened between you and Saki, but before I can say this, I hear a tremendous noise breaking out from the bottom of the earth. The pier shakes intensely. It's an earthquake. She gulps in astonishment and staggers. I've got to hold on to her. At the same moment, I think the ground sways intensely. Haruka and I embrace each other. We're thrown into the air and we crash onto the ground and roll. We can't stop. As we continue to roll, we try not to get caught in the pier stairs. As we continue to roll, we try to get caught between the pier stairs to stop ourselves. The tremors slowly fade away. Once I calm down, I help her sit up and look at her. I've been left speechless. Her black pupils have completely captivated me. I stand there paralyzed by her mesmerizing beauty, even though it feels like she could faint or shut her eyes at any moment. That was surprising. Weren't you surprised? I didn't see it coming. Right. She silently nods, and we let go of each other's hands as she stands up. We say it at the same time, and we look away from each other and fall silent. A flock of seagulls come flying from the ocean and let out a cry all at once. I nervously open my mouth. What were you going to say? It's nothing at all. That's not true, is it? Then you go first. No, go ahead. I'm fine. I'm fine, you say. The time since that exchange, the morning has passed by. As usual, we went to Luna Beach for lunch and returned to the pier. In that time, the awkwardness between us faded, as Haruka regained her cheerfulness. As usual, Haruka is enthusiastically fishing, and as usual, she releases all of the fish she catches. As for me, my fishing rod isn't even twitching. As usual, to use the phrase one more time. You have no talent for this, do you? But the truth is, I haven't caught a single fish. Haruka seems to be learning so many skills that she's developing her own technique. She really is an unbelievably fast learner. I'm jealous. She caught another fish. I look at it while gripping my fishing rod. The fish violently scatters water around. A drop of water hits her face. She grimaces from the cold. Seeing that takes me aback. It feels like my heart's been pierced. Haruka's smile accompanying the blush from her face is truly human. I would have never expected to see that from Haruka. Before long, Haruka releases the fish and faces me.
誠は魚にも
Do you
心
think
がある
fish
と思
also
う。
have hearts? I do.
そう。人魚姫読んだことある？
Have you ever read The Little Mermaid? A little. I've never read it, but it's that story by Anderson. For the time being, I'll pretend I know it.
人魚姫がね、人間の王子を好きになるでしょ？
There's a mermaid princess who fell in love with the human prince, right? Yeah, that's right. She struck a deal with the sea witch to become human in exchange for her most important possession. What about it?
そのところどうでもいいんだけど。
That part doesn't matter. I see. I'm heartbroken, even though I did my best to remember all of that.
泡になって消えるの。
In the end, she dissolves into foam in the ocean.
王子の身代わりになって死ぬのね。
She sacrificed herself to save the prince's life
人魚姫は人間じゃない
because
から。
she wasn't human.
魂がないから。
She had no soul. She
天
couldn't go into heaven. She just became foam.
ただ
That's all.
泡に。
No, but she saved the prince that she loved.
王子は気づかないの。人魚姫が好きだったことも。
The prince never
命を
realized
助けられたこと
her love for him, and he didn't acknowledge that she saved his life. I understand. Fish's heart, the mermaid princess's feelings, right? They don't mean anything. That's not what Haruka wants to say. But because I understand she's alluding to, I can't seem to find the right words to
ちょっ
respond.
と喉乾いちゃったね。
I'm a little thirsty. Her voice is cracked. I force myself to reply in a cheerful tone. Okay then, leave it to me. Wait here, will you? I head towards the market, as if I'm trying to avoid looking at Haruka. No, I might not want to look at her. I only want to look at the cheerful Haruka. I want her to look away from the problem she thinks she has from being a clone. Before long, I return to the pier. And I'm left standing stock still and dumbfounded. Haruka has disappeared. I come to my senses and look at the water from the tip of the bank. I desperately stare. What the hell am I thinking? She didn't turn into foam in the water. I enter the shopping district to look for her. A fisherman told me it seems she headed towards the shopping district. However, I can't find her even in this narrow street. Could it be that she's running away from me? Why would she go so far? My mind is thrown into intense disorder. While searching for Haruka, I ended up here before I even knew it. As I look around aimlessly and relentlessly, Kurumi calls out to me.
あれ？お兄ちゃん、はるかさんと一緒じゃなかった？
Weren't you with Haruka? Well, not really. It'd be troublesome to explain the situation to her. So that's why I'm lying.
なんだ違うんだ。じゃあ声かけなくてよかった。
And she should have called out to her. Does that mean you didn't call out to her? What do you mean?
何言ってんの？決まってるじゃない。
I could have called out to Haruka. You met with Haruka?
別に会ってない。
Not really, I only saw her. Why didn't you say that earlier? Where'd she go?
なんだ、やっぱり一緒だったんじ
So you two really were together. Doesn't matter, where is she?
ゃ。すぐそこ。突きは
She went that way, towards Moon Beach. Without another word, I start running. Kurumi's half-angry voice reaches my ears.
はるかさんばっかり。
Why is it Haruka this and Haruka that? Stupid Oni-chan. I have far more important problems right now. It's not the time to hang around with a spoiled kid. I jump down to Moon Beach and instantly spot Haruka. When I look around, I can see the entire white sandy beach that stretches out as far as the eye can see. There's nothing blocking my field of vision, save for a lone, conspicuous figure near a rock wall. Although the sand is tripping me up, I run to the rock wall as fast as I can. Just then, Saki shows up on the opposite side of the beach. She's closer to Haruka than I am. She heads straight towards Haruka, who steels herself and goes out to meet Saki once she notices her. They instantly began to quarrel about something just like they did back then, just before the high wave struck the pier. I feel my heart beating hard, take a large roundabout path so they don't notice me, and hide myself on the opposite side of the shade of the rock. And hear them arguing.
Excuse me. Stop accusing me. I don't have it anymore. You're lying. You took it away. Took what? Let me go. I won't. Do you intend to threaten me forever? Then just give it back to me. I didn't want to see it again. Please stop lying. I'm not lying. You're lying. Give it back. Give me back that bell. Bell? Did she just say bell? The thing Saki stole from Haruka was a bell. And in that instant, a scene flies by my mind. The hopeless dream I had on the morning of the 1st. Could it be that bell? That's impossible. I shake my head countless times to shake off that delusion. Anyway, right now I've got to do something about the situation. When I think that, I peek out from the shade of the rock wall and observe the two. Their quarrel has gotten physical. Two are grappling. Saki manages to shake Haruka's hands off of her and slowly draws back. Haruka steadily closes the distance between her and Saki as she throws a furious glare at her. Saki slowly shakes her head. Haruka grabs Saki's hand again, but this time, Saki thrusts Haruka away with all of her strength. Haruka falls flat on her back. A cloud of sand blows up and rolls into a small ball like a shrimp. Saki shakes her head once again, trembling slightly, and immediately breaks off into a run. I run out from behind the rock wall and immediately rush over to Haruka's side. It seems she's lost consciousness. I lift her up in my arms and shake her body. Haruka, hang in there. While I shake her, my mind flashes back to the night of the 1st. It was definitely here on Moon Beach. Back then I picked up the bell. I threw it into the ocean because it scared me for no reason. That bell is connected to Haruka and Saki somehow. Then what is the meaning of the dream I had? Haruka! Suddenly her eyes open and move around restlessly. I silently nod as Haruka raises half her body up and blankly stares into my eyes, as I do the same to her. I stretch out my hand to Haruka. She quickly yet calmly takes my hand into her own, grasps tightly, as if to wrap her up in kindness. I was looking for you. In that moment, her eyes suddenly overflow with tears. She firmly squeezes back. I stroke her soft cheeks with my other hand. Her tears fall onto the back of my hand one by one. Such warm tears. Haruka. We head towards Luna Beach. It's almost time to meet Yuka and the others. After that incident, Haruka and I quickly pass the time together, all while listening to the sea breeze and the roar of the waves. We just let time flow by, even though there was nothing at the beach. The calmness slowly healed Haruka's heart. I didn't ask her about anything. Nothing about the bell or about Saki, or why she even bothered, or why she even left me at the pier. None of that mattered anymore. I just watched over her. I felt that was all I could do. Haruka, who's walking beside me, grabs my arm. Will you always help me? What is with this all of a sudden? Will you protect me? Well, if it's you, the instant I'm about to say, then of course I will. Haruka laughs loudly.
そういう話はやめ。ストップストップ。
Forget I ever said anything. I need to stop right here. I'm dumbfounded. It's happening again. She's beginning to act strangely cheerful.
びっくりしたよね。ごめん、つまんないこと言って。
Did I surprise you? Sorry for saying something so weird.
いいいい。自分のことくらい自分で何
I'll be
とかしなくちゃ。
I at least have to deal with my own problems somehow by myself. Haruka.
誠は誠だし、私は私だから。
Because Makoto is Makoto and I'm me.
そうでしょ？
Isn't that right? I look at Haruka, but I've been left at a loss for words. We arrive at Luna Beach almost exactly on time. The Marino sisters are busy slicing and dicing meat and vegetables. It seems that a barbecue has been planned from 5 p.m. today. The barbecue is finally set up. Everyone is holding their own paper cup. Inside them is ice-cold beer. However, Kurumi and Haruka only have orange juice. Savory smoke begins to rise from the iron plate.
それじゃあ乾杯しましょうか。
Kanpai!
乾杯の温度はそうね。ここは川島藩の藩長さんに。
Leader of the Kawashima party, would you do the honors?
私が？
Me? We gaze at Yuka.
よし、任せて。
Leave it to me.
だけど、何に
What should I toast to?
そういうのは自分で考える
Think of that yourself.
そっか、それもそう。
You're right.
じゃあ、
See.
こうしてみんな。
Then to our chance meeting.
それからちょっと遅いけど。
And it's a little late,
いいわよ。
but also to Saki's recovery.
それじゃあ乾杯。乾杯。
With their voices in unison, everyone touts their paper cup. They're all smiling. They're smiling. I only realized it just now. I must not have realized it because everyone's acting so naturally, but Saki seems happy. She was fighting with Haruka mere hours ago. How is that possible? Kurumi, come here.
何？
When everyone else becomes engrossed in conversation with each other, I pick that time to casually call Kurumi over towards a nook. This may be an abrupt question, but was Saki in this kind of mood before Haruka arrived at Luna Beach? I quickly glance at Saki.
あ、そっか。お兄ちゃん知らない？
Don't you know? Did something happen?
あのね。
Yeah, guess what? Kurumi begins to whisper.
本当は。
The truth is, Saki-chan had no intention of coming to Luna Beach.
それで、お兄ちゃん
And then before you came,
4時ぐらいだ。
Kurumi thinks it was around 4.
お姉ちゃんがさきさんの別
She went to Saki's summer house and managed to persuade her somehow. So you brought Saki along. So she brought Saki along.
こと。ほら、お姉ちゃんってそういうの得意でしょ？
That's my sister's specialty, right?
それはどうかな。
I wonder about that.
そこまでは
I missed something. And does that mean... Does that mean that completely puts Saki in a good mood now? I wonder about that. Well, it's a given. I don't know how Izumi-san managed to persuade Saki given that she quarreled with Haruka today. It would have taken a miracle to cheer her up so much.
別にこれといって理由が
It's not like I can tell if she feels that way or
あ
not.
ったくるみには
It's just what I think.
ちゃんだよね。
I see. Thank you, Kirumi. I pat her on the head. I go back to the circle with everyone. Now that Kurumi's mentioned it, it's easy to tell by Saki's expression that there's definitely something bothering her about this whole situation. If Kurumi hadn't told me, I wouldn't have noticed it. Just then, Haruka suddenly speaks.
これ
This... She dangles a dirty clear plastic bag in front of her. Inside is a small group of creatures closely packed and jammed in the bag. Our jaws drop in shock. What are those? I try asking her. Sea roaches. What do you intend to do with them, Haruka? Soon enough, she responds with, eat them. But they might be surprisingly tasty. Kurumi mutters this. There's no way something like that would be good. Shall I try grilling them? Listen to what people are saying, damn it. Grill the sea roaches. Don't grill them. Haruka ignores her pleas. As Saki protests, Haruka has almost finished opening the plastic bag. Hold on, Haruka-chan. Yuka reaches her arm out and tries to snatch the bag out of her hands. And in that instant, the opening to the plastic bag rips up and the sea roaches scatter. Okihiko screams in an extremely loud voice. Y'all panic, frantically trying to run away. Or like spiders running away from a fire. Unfortunately, none of the sea roaches land on the grill as they scatter away. Before long, they've all disappeared in the direction of the rocks. Hey, it's all right now. When they hear my voice, everyone timidly comes back. As soon as Yuka comes back, she cries in a thunderous voice. But we wanted to eat them. Haruka and Kurumi slump their shoulders in disappointment. An hour has passed since then. I guess you could say the party's in full swing. On the contrary to what you'd expect, it seems that the sea roach incident has only caused everyone to become heated up. I mean, heated up in a good way. In other words, it's even livelier than before. Everything is calm as we fool around and poke fun at each other. No, calling it calm is a stretch. There's still a noisy clamor about, particularly from Yuka. To her, 1 short hour must be more than enough time to get plastered. Want a drink? As she says this, she takes Kurumi's paper cup and tries to put beer in it. Hey, don't encourage minors. You're so stiff. You haven't had enough to drink yet, Makoto. She thrusts a beer can towards me. Yuka should be banned from alcohol. I should have kept a close eye on her. I release a weary sigh. If you're like that, you're gonna wither away soon. You'll be like a shiitake. Aren't they nice, Yuka-chan? Thanks to his laugh, I'm kinda pissed off. In an attempt to sway off my irritation, I reach for my chopsticks. I reach my chopsticks out for a piece of grilled beef. But as I'm on the verge of grabbing it, my hand slips and I accidentally let the chopsticks fall on top of the iron plate. Oh, Nichan, are you sure you're not drunk? Drunk? That's certainly possible. Doing things such as knocking over cups and dropping chopsticks are signs that I could be drunk. I need to show a little more self-control. While I'm thinking this, I seem to have lost my mind as I suddenly try to grab my chopsticks off the iron plate with my bare hands. Hot! I jerk my hand away. You're so helpless. Kurumi will get them for you. She picks them up using her own chopsticks. Then, Yuka tries to bend herself forward and points to my lightly burnt hand. She points at me using her middle and index fingers. I have just come up with something amazing. What do you call a burnt Ishihara? It's a joke. It's a joke. What do you call a burnt Ishihara? An Ishitakehara. That's pretty weak. Yuka-san, sorry to say, but it's not really funny. You're kidding, even though I thought it was rather clever. Boo. She's booing. Well, for the time being, I'm relieved. If Yuka and Kurumi were in perfect sync, then I'd fear for the future of this planet. Then how's this? Her eyes sparkle. At that time, Saki's the one who commits a blunder. The instant she tries to transfer the paper cup in her right hand to her left, her hand slips. Her beer splashes all over Yuko, standing right next to her. From her chest to her lower sections, her entire body has been soaked by large amounts of beer. Saki? I'm sorry. I guess you could say she's soaking up the beer, right? That's not much of a difference. Oyuhiko makes an unnecessary joke. When Saki hears that, she laughs. This is no laughing matter. Really, I'm sorry. Just what Oyuhiko-kun said was kind of true. The instant she says this, something comes flying from a different direction. It's an orange-colored liquid, juice. That orange juice flies straight as if it were a living being landing directly on Saki. We all simultaneously look in the direction where it was thrown. Standing there is Haruka, holding an empty paper cup. Saki seems bewildered, as if she doesn't fully understand what just happened. You don't seem to feel bad about what you just did. I didn't think you would understand unless the same thing was done to you. What the hell is your problem? I did feel bad, that's why I apologized countless times. Only apologizing twice is not countless. Twice is enough for this shameful drunkard, right? Shameful drunkard? Aren't you the drunk one here? If you weren't, then why should you spill your beer all over me? Or are you saying you did it on purpose? I wouldn't do it on purpose. What kind of person would do that? That's right. If you're a human, then you would never do something like that on purpose. But somehow, it seems that clones are different in that regard, aren't they? Just then... Enough! Finally, Izumi-san raises her voice, unable to watch any longer. That same gentle Izumi-san, her roar immediately shuts us up. You're all adults here. Don't fight over such a trivial thing. The three of them are overwhelmed and can't face Izumi-san's deathly glare, staying firmly silent while staring at the ground. This is really awkward. Even though I'm a third party, I really want to run away. No, I might want to run away exactly because I'm a third party. It couldn't possibly get any worse. Saki breaks the silence and mutters something. Anyway, I'm going home now. She picks up her bag, which she placed at her feet. Then she accidentally drops something. I look on top of the sand, sprawled out onto the beach. It's the beef bag. The bag full of beef that we all paid Izumi-san to buy. Why does Saki... What are you planning to do by stealing that? Haruka asked her this unflatteringly. I'm not stealing. And where are you taking it? It's not worth worrying over, is it? You can't do that. Because everyone chipped in to buy this. Watch your damn mouth, bitch. Why don't you report me to the police? I won't run or hide because I'll always be in that summer house. Saki turns around as if she's blocking something, then runs towards the hill road while kicking up sand. The beef left on the sandy beach looks artificial, like waxwork. The fire on the iron plate seems like it could go out at any time now. 1 minute passes, then 2, then 10. Nobody says a single thing. Why did things turn out this way? Just a few minutes ago, the air was covered with the sound of our happy laughter. In the end, it seems like the tension between Saki and Haruka really was weighing heavily on their minds. I need to do something. What can I even do? As I think this, my gaze shift towards the shadow of a distant rock. There, all alone, filled with sadness, is Kurumi. Right now, she's curled up, her small back. Right now, she's curled up her small back while her shoulders shake as she cries. She lets out sobs that have been welling up inside of her. I understand her torment so well that it hurts. She's the kind of kid who can't bear such an ugly argument like that. I think of running up to her and comforting her, but I can't think of any words, so I would use to do so. Right now, I have no choice but to stay silent. The sound of the waves incessantly breaking on the shore is the sound of the sea's lamentations. And with that, I'm gonna call it good. Everyone have a good day. And we'll get to the real good part of the game soon. Thanks for stopping by.